Okay, so the community has grown. We welcomed Gillian on the 1st of October, 10 years ago. We welcomed Thomas on the 7th of October, 10 years ago. We welcomed Jeffrey on the 13th of October, 10 years ago. And we welcomed Connor Lavery, who is not with us today, but was meant to be here. But Connor decided that because we weren't allowing him to cycle up and down the roads of Belfast on what was the kind of bike he wanted? A mountain bike. Yeah, some kind of suspension on it. So they arrived, but also arrived a family from Seattle. Not really Seattle, Montana, Indiana, but lived in Seattle. And a baby boy, well, a 2-year-old boy. You weren't really a baby at 2. You were big. Megan and Scott. And we had here Megan and Scott, Noah, Poppy from South Africa, myself. We had Anne Soren eventually who came. We had Sylvia who came. And we had Gillian and Larry and Thomas and Connor. Not Gillian and Jeffrey and Thomas and Connor. And as I said, Jeffrey then, after a number of years, Jeffrey died. And while, yes, he took a huge part of us away with him. And the thing that I suppose Jeffrey most gifted us with was an understanding of what a cup of tea, how a cup of tea can change the world. So I'm going to tell you a very brief story. We used to have visitors' evenings, and we're going to have visitors' evenings again. Evenings where everybody who would like to visit us is welcome. But after a little time, we discovered that not everybody thought it was a great idea. So one evening we were having dinner and we were saying, oh no, it's visitors' evening, oh flip. And in general, we were sort of just, the kind of thing that you're committed to something you don't really want to do. So we were, going on and on as we can do. And Jeffrey, sitting at the table, said, hooray, yeah, friends. And so we practiced how we would welcome, how we would open the door and welcome people. And Jeffrey went out and opened the door, and was always thrilled. So we thought this was great, a great salutary lesson for all of us to learn, etc. Until we discovered the mystery. So this is what Jeffrey taught us. Jeffrey was given to being a little bit overweight, and we had him on a health diet. And so what was not allowed for Jeffrey was chocolate biscuits. Right? It wasn't good for him, wasn't made him grow fat, wasn't it right? So he wasn't allowed to eat chocolate biscuits, but every time someone knocked at the door, and Jeffrey opened the door, what he saw was the possibility of chocolate biscuits. So when a stranger came to the door, the milkman, the dustbin man, the postman, the chemist, whoever came to the door was the possibility of a chocolate biscuit. So everyone was invited, whether they wanted to come or not. He would say, come in, a wee cup of tea, a wee cup of tea. And everybody came, whoever they were, and had tea. And of course, Jeffrey would sit and hold the course of the table and say, biscuits. And the assistants would put biscuits on the table. And while the person, the guest was having tea, Jeffrey ate his way through the packet of biscuits. When Jeffrey died, his church, the minister of his church said, we don't have to worry very much. There won't be too many people at his funeral, because he never came to church. And we said, oh, we're not sure about that. And on that day, the church was so full of the sanctuary, Susan, do you remember? The sanctuary was filled, the naves of the church were filled, and out into the driveway. It was the day when the church was fullest for many years. Many of you will remember that funeral. The dustman came, the postman came, the milkman came, the bishops came, the moderator of the Presbyterian Church came, the president of the Methodist Church came, George came. Everyone came to say goodbye. And when we asked them why, because we were stunned at how many people turned up, they said, he made me feel like I was the most important person in the whole world. When he came to the door and his eyes lit up, I knew that I mattered. So what Jeffrey left with us was a very universal truth, which which is, when you open the door to a stranger, offer them a wee cup of tea. And in many ways, we have learned much more than that. Like, how do you be the community that we say we are called to be? In the smallest, tiniest act of love. Shortly after that, we started to grow our garden. And we had a song in the community that was to be the anthem of the community. So Scott and Larry are going to do the song and tell you a tiny bit about our garden. So we have for you a visual image of the anthem of our garden. Mary and I worked together in a school in Bray called the Marino Clinic. And in that school there was a little girl called Caroline. And Caroline had a very, very, very serious physical illness. She had, her brain was being poisoned by her own urea. She had uranium poisoning. And so she had an itchy brain. For any of you who have ever had an itchy throat, you know when you can't get at it, you keep going. Well, she had an itchy brain. And in the 7 years of her life, because she used to hurt herself trying to itch her brain, her hands were tied to her wheelchair. And her teeth had to be removed because she bit her lips. And so in the last years of her life, she cried and cried and cried. And there was a man, a builder's labourer, who was part of a mission group, a Catholic mission group in Bray. His name was Dennis O'Toole. And Dennis wrote a song for this little girl. And the words of the song are, the smallest flower, the tallest tree, they have a job to do for thee. To show the world your majesty, O Lord, have you a job for me. And Dennis said to Caroline, Caroline, you're doing your job. And God is proud. And God makes no mistakes. And that is today, 30-something years later, the anthem of our community. Caroline died 28 years ago. And we are still singing it. So her life is still changing the world. And so what we say in Belfast is, no human life is a mistake, and every human life can change the world. So before Scott and Larry tell us a bit about the garden, we'll sing the song.
And so that was my dream. And last year we were approached by an reaction was a bit of panic because we're not into health and safety so much, or at least we weren't at the time. So the idea of bringing people in to do a workplace was a bit surprising. But we brought people, and the first person that we invited up was a guy named Paul, and he's a very big guy, really likes heavy physical work. And he started coming, and then someone else heard about us, and they said, well, I'd like to give that a try. And so bit by bit, we welcomed people to come and work with us, and Larry started to work with us every Friday. And now we're providing work placements for 6 people every Friday. And we come and we garden together, and we eat lunch together. Sometimes we do a barbecue if the weather is suitable. And we've really just started growing a lot of fruit and a lot of veg, and everyone who works gets to take a bit home with them. And so it's been great for me because it feels like it's a dream come true in a way. So that's where we are with the garden today. And Larry, do you like working in the garden?
No.
Yes.
What do you like doing?
Potatoes.
Digging potatoes?
Yes.
And what else? And you really like cutting down the herbs. Remember the comfrey? Larry spent about 3 hours cutting down huge plants, comfrey plants. Okay, so that's the work you do. Yeah, is there anything else you want to say?
Launch would be the possibility of a place where everyone, irrespective of colour, creed, or capacity, would have a place and know that they matter. And not only that, but that at the heart of our city, this extraordinary city of ours, that we would be a sign to the world that says, this is not a place of division. This is a place where we are one. Where together, we are one. Today, in this hall, we are in the hall of a Presbyterian church. We are being served by women from the Church of Ireland. We have lots of people from the Catholic tradition. We have people from the Methodist tradition. We have people from the evangelical traditions. We have people from no religious tradition, without ever having a commitment to peace and reconciliation. We are the possibility of people gathering together just because we are human. So I've asked John, a friend of ours, a minister from a church not far from here, also an ex-assistant from North Dublin, to tell you what it is for him that Launch means in our